Throughout both ancient and modern history, those who were under subjugation fought to free themselves from oppressors. Much like in many civilizations, the slaves in ancient Rome, whether Syrian, Greek, or even American, were considered not as citizens but as property working both skilled and unskilled for the rest of society. Clearly, whether in Rome or elsewhere, slave revolts posed a danger to all citizens, and while most of these uprisings were quickly suppressed, an uprising in the 1st century BC caused enough concern for the Roman Senate to eventually call upon two of their great leaders to suppress it. Over a 2-year period, this small rebellion led by a one-time gladiator initiated what would be known as the Third Servile War, and the name of this gladiator was Spartacus. Little is known about his early years, but Spartacus was originally from Thrace in northeastern Macedonia and was a soldier in the Roman army. Historian Plutarch described him as cultured and intelligent, more of a Greek than a Thracian. It is not known how he, along with his wife, became enslaved and turned into a gladiator, but his unique physique and strength caught the attention of a trainer named Lentulus Batiatus, and he was sent to a gladiator school in the city of Capua in southern Rome. Life in the gladiator school was both brutal and harsh. Therefore, in 73 BC, he and 78 fellow slaves rebelled, using kitchen knives. After escaping, they encountered a small caravan carrying weapons, seized it, and fled to the nearby Mount Vesuvius. Soon, shepherds from the region joined them, and the number of the small army exceeded 70,000. To survive, they began plundering the central part of Italy. Describing their escape in the book, Life of Marcus Crassus, it was written, 200 of them had formed a plan of escape, but the plot was discovered, and before their masters were aware of it, they got out of a cook shop with spits and spades, and some of them who fell in with certain wagons loaded with gladiatorial weapons, seized them, and were soon out of the town. Despite achieving early success, even defeating the armies of 2 praetors and the governor of Gaul and capturing their weapons, Spartacus realized that Rome would ultimately defeat him. Therefore, in an attempt to return home, he wanted to travel north to the Alps. In 72 BC, he divided his forces. Half, including Gauls and Germans, went with his gladiator companion Crixus, while the rest, mostly Thracians, went with Spartacus. Although his intention was to return to Thrace, most of his followers did not want to leave Italy and turn south. Plutarch noted, he led his army towards the Alps, with the design, after passing them, to disperse his soldiers, every man to his own home, some to Thracia, and some to Gaul. But those who were fond of showing their bravery and those who were elated with their success would not be put off with it, but, abandoning their guide, marched directly against Rome, thinking, as it is said, that, if they were once masters of the city, they should be able to command the whole world without further hazard. Although he quickly abandoned the idea of attacking Rome, Spartacus's success against the armies of 2 consuls worried the Senate so much that they called upon Marcus Licinius Crassus, a former follower of Sulla, to lead an army against him. Spartacus, besieged by the army, hired Cilician pirates to take him to Sicily, hoping to increase his forces. Unfortunately, he couldn't go himself, but the money went. Crassus lured the rebellious slaves into a trap in Bruttium, where 6,000 rebels were killed. However, Spartacus, with a third of his strength, managed to break through the enemy lines once again, escape, and move south, defeating 2 of Crassus's commanders in the process. However, he was eventually cornered and defeated in Lucania, although his body was never found. Plutarch mentioned Spartacus's final moments. Making his way through a crowd of flying weapons and wounded and slaying 2 centurions who fell upon him together, he arrived at Crassus, but then, after holding out for a considerable time against many, at last, overpowered by numbers, he fell. More than 6,000 rebels were crucified, and their bodies were displayed along the Appian Way from Capua to Rome. Crassus hoped to defeat Spartacus before Pompey returned from Spain. Unfortunately, Pompey returned in time to defeat 5,000 of Spartacus's followers and steal most of the victory. Both were elected consuls in 70 BC, leading to a deep conflict. Plutarch noted, Crassus had good fortune, played the part of a good general, and exhibited a splendid show of character, but the greater part of the credit for all this was given to Pompey. For although he had come upon the slaves and destroyed them, Still, he wrote to the Senate that Crassus had defeated the gladiators in a pitched battle but had ended the war. The war and Spartacus's role in it had a lasting impact. With Julius Caesar becoming a lifelong dictator, he never forgot the rebellion and was determined to prevent another. Through various laws, he aimed to reduce dependence on slaves by encouraging the hiring of free laborers. History has different views on Spartacus. Some see him as a hero and a representative of the oppressed, while others view him as a cruel and heartless bandit. Nevertheless, he is remembered for leading the most famous slave rebellion in ancient Roman history.